All right, we're rolling.
Hell yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been excited for this one, actually.
Thanks, man.
We have, let's see, a multi-reed player, professional saxophone player, performer, writer, arranger,
Yeah, dude.
teacher,
Yep.
and all around one of my longtime homies.
Best friends. Yeah, dude.
Mike Oehmen. Mike Oehmen.
Thanks so much for having me, man. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
Been stoked for this.
Welcome, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Of course, dude.
Yeah.
So let's I've been dying to hear about this tour.
Yeah.
Tell me just some of the people you performed with, and then we're gonna get into this tour that you were just on. So
Right now I'm full-time in 3 bands. I'm in the Mihali band, both the live act and the duo looping act that we do together, the two of us.
Yep.
Obviously West End Blend with my boy here.
Hell yeah.
And Wild Adriatic as well, making a little bit of a comeback this year. Got a handful of shows coming up. That's really exciting.
Awesome.
And then obviously playing with the Booyah crew whenever I can, and whoever else in Connecticut, the Northeast, that will ask me to come.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, I think I was just digging back too. There was Pigeons playing ping pong.
Yep.
Played with Dopapod.
Yep.
Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Even
it's been a minute.
Soja. Remember?
Yeah.
Moon Taxi.
Moon Taxi was a new one. Yeah, that's a new one this year.
I mean, that's how like busy you've been. You're almost like forgetting all these amazing acts you played with. Don't sell yourself short.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it's been a crazy year. It's one of those things that I officially became a full-time musician as of the beginning of this year, but I really started to phase out of my day job starting really back in the summer in a big way.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've just been so lucky that I've been able to prioritize just playing with all these amazing acts, and they've been, welcoming me into the fold and letting me kind of do my thing. It's really, I'm just super thankful for all of it. It's been so cool.
Just watching from afar has
Thank
been
you, man.
like, just wow. It's like a rocket ship that you're riding right now.
Thank you. Yeah.
I can imagine what that calendar looks like.
It's getting pretty crazy. Yeah. Especially this time of year, coming off of the tour opening for the Movements. And then I'm home for like 2 weeks, getting to play with you guys and stuff. And then right back on the road with Mihali for another 3 weeks in March. Starting, our first show is out in Colorado, that first week in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long was this last run you just got back?
Just shy of 3 weeks. I was out. We did. It was me and Mihali doing our duo looping acts, and we were opening for the band The Movement, the reggae band, for just under 3 weeks. We did Florida, Texas, Arizona, and California.
Wow. So you really covered some ground in those 3 weeks.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. We got an RV for us. Luckily, being just the duo act, there was only 5 of us on the road. It was me, Mihali, we had our tour manager Al, we had our photographer Dave, and our sound guy Sam. Okay. So 5 of us on the road, fit comfortably in the RV. And it was fun, man. It was such a blast. I couldn't ask for better, and it was great. Crowds were awesome every night. We got to me and Mihali got to sit in with the Movement pretty much every night too.
Yep.
It was fun, dude. It was really cool.
And you've been on tours before. What was this the longest?
This was I think I counted it out. It was the longest tour by 4 days that I've been on so far.
So you just notched out your previous record.
Yeah.
Is it hard being out for that long? Or, I mean, like...
It is, yeah. I mean, obviously, I love it, and I've kind of set myself up to be able to, take advantage of all these opportunities to be out on the road for that long. But, like, being away from my house, my girlfriend, my cats, and all that stuff, it's after you're out for... It was about, like... It was about like 2 weeks that I got to that point, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to get back home. It seems like, but it was a blast, man. It really was. I couldn't ask for anything more. It's been really cool.
Well, that's first and foremost super awesome to hear. Like,
Thank
you
you,
guys
man.
had a great time, and it sounded like the shows were really good.
Yeah, it was. It was so impressive, man. I mean, obviously, we were the supporting act for the movement. If you guys haven't checked out the movement, they're just fantastic reggae band. I can't say enough good things about them, both as musicians and as people. You know, we got to know each other really well over the 3 weeks and everything. And man, can they draw? They sell some tickets.
Wow.
We played in Arizona on a Monday and sold out like an 800 or 900 person venue.
And that's, you know,
on a Monday.
Mihali is like New England or Northeast based.
Definitely North. I mean, he's definitely got a name elsewhere, but definitely Northeast and East Coast is his bread and butter. So that was definitely once we got out of Florida and into like the Texas, Arizona, Cali shows, that was in a big way the movement's people.
Yeah. And just so if anyone's listening at home, they know Mihali probably mostly from Twiddle.
From Twiddle, exactly.
Like, how would you say, like, the performance and the vibe is a little different from Twiddle, like, out on the road?
Yeah.
As the solo act and also Mihali band, of course.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So, the Mihali, his music is quite a bit different from Twiddle's music that anybody has gone to one of our shows will be able to tell you.
Yeah.
It's much more in the reggae, roots rock, a little bit of funky stuff, but definitely more on the reggae and roots rock kind of thing.
Got it.
As opposed to Twiddle, that was very much like a jam band's jam band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
like the long guitar solo.
Exactly. And
exploratory.
Yeah, exactly. Like stretching out, jamming, that sort of thing. The cool thing about us coming from the jam world, both of us and the whole band really comes from the jam world, where we're kind of new to the reggae scene and everything. What we bring in a big way that other bands and promoters and people in the reggae world are finding is we bring chops to the performance that a lot of these other bands, they're focusing more on the show, which is awesome in its own right. But at the same time, it's something that really allows us to kind of set ourselves apart, being sort of the new kid on the block in the reggae world. And it's allowing us to really get some serious looks from bands like The Movement, and like back in the fall, we did a whole run opening for Soja as well. And that's the sort of looks that we've been able to get in a world that we're pretty much like brand new in a big way.
Totally. And that's a great point. Like, you know, the fans must be like, who are these guys just shredding up there at a reggae show? They're, Movement is putting you guys in front of this big crowd that's used to, I guess, like more like the commitment to the the performance. And maybe it's just to like more like pocket and arrangement stuff, and you guys are like the ones showing them like, hey, we can do reggae, but here is like, we're coming from this, or cut from this cloth.
It's like opening up this whole, you can kind of see it in their eyes. I mean, honestly, it goes both ways, obviously, because we come from a world where the jamming, the exploring, the improvising really is the forefront of what we're doing and what we're bringing to the show, right? So the whole high production level and the, everything else that they bring to the live performance that is kind of an afterthought in the jam world is something that's so important to a reggae show that we're just sitting out. There were so many shows that I just sat next to the soundboard and was just like, whoa, this is the coolest thing, because not only are they doing the visuals, but they have all like the crazy sub bass stuff that they're doing. Like, especially so the Movement's bass player, this guy Jay, he is such a great bass player, but such a cool guy too. He was showing me like the whole rig where he would get like the really boom, boom, like the sub bass drops that he was doing. It was amazing to see just how they were able to weave that into the show, but then at the same time, coming from our perspective, we're really able to show them like, yo, in this, you guys can really kind of cut loose and shred a little bit too. You don't have to be so committed to, the...
Just 12 bars, that's it,
Exactly, kind of you can change things up. And I got to give the Movement guys so much credit, man. Every night, their set was different.
Really?
Yeah, it was really awesome.
You guys are rubbing off on them already.
No, I think that was all them. I got to give them all the credit because like we were wondering what it was going to be like if they were going to do, because in that world, really everywhere outside of the jam scene, when you go on a tour like that, the set might be a few changes here and there, but it's pretty much going to be the same mix of songs.
Right.
And man, right from the get-go, we were wondering, okay, are they going to do the same number of tunes every night? But man, they crushed it, and they changed it up every night and kept it fresh. It was really cool.
I'm going to have to make a point, if you're in the area, to go see Movement, go see you play solo with Mihali. I know it's called solo, but it's duo, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's been so it's ironed out ever since basically this past summer that he's brought me in for any of his looping shows that he's done, so he has a whole loop station where he'll set up the chord progression for his songs and we'll play over them. Basically, it ends up being kind of like a full band sound with just the two of us.
Oh man, I gotta
it's pretty cool.
Catch that.
Yeah, it's awesome. People really, really like it. They've been responding not only to the two of us, but to the songs in a big way. There's obviously, because we were playing the opening sets, they were usually like between 45 minutes to an hour, so not a whole lot of time to, stretch and change things up and this, that, the other. We were able to, do our thing and everything. But it was really cool to see just like a handful of the songs that we brought out that haven't even been released yet. People already latching onto in a big way, and like even there's one of them in particular that people are already singing along to every night. They already know the words, even though it's not even released. They find the live recordings, they come to the shows, and they just like zero in on it. They're like, I love that song. Let's learn what that's all about. It's really cool.
And do you have any like hand in the writing process? Or is it mostly him?
It's mostly him, and there's a couple producers that we've been bringing in. Johnny Cosmic from Stick Figure, Spencer Thompson from Moon Taxi. They've been huge players in some of the music that we've been recording recently. It's going to be coming out this year and next year. But as far as like the horn parts go, I'll get sort of some suggestions and stuff from the producers, and then I'll be able to kind of put my own stamp on it and come up with, different harmonies, different ideas, and then have myself and Mike Profundo will record those parts at my house, fly it out to the producers, and we'll get feedback like, okay, maybe try this, maybe tweak this a little bit. And it becomes like a whole process, even though we're not in the room together yet. We're able to still kind of have our hand and our say in the horn parts that come through.
So you're not just doing the live stuff, like you're going to be on record.
We're on all the songs. There's horns on all the new songs.
I can't wait to hear it.
It's going to be really cool. No dates set yet. We're still working it out with the labels and with our management and everything like that. But it'll be between this year and next year that we'll come out with probably 2 new records.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
All right. Well, I want to hear a tour story, like a classic. Like, tell me about.
Oh man, there's some things I could tell, and there's some things I shouldn't say. Let's see. So, the Florida shows when we first got started, I was new to the scene. I was, just introducing myself to the movements and those guys and everything, obviously getting close. We had 5 shows in Florida, and right off the bat, they obviously knew who Mihali was, and they were like, oh, this dude shreds. Let's get him out to play with us. And there was one night in particular in Cocoa Beach, Florida. It was a beautiful, beautiful venue right on the water. It was gorgeous, and it was just like thousands of people, and Mihali's just like ripping it, and I'm in the back just like shaking because I want to be on stage so bad with them. And Sam, our sound guy, goes, dude, you got to get out there. I'm like, I know. And so finally, by the time we get to Texas, they were like, okay, so we need you on this tune. And I was like, thank you. We go. Yes, let's go. And it was such a cool feeling. They really kind of rolled out the red carpet as far as like getting me involved. Like they got me a pack and in-ears so I could hear everything, because they're all on ears and everything like that.
Yep.
And so they had it all ready for me. I knew what song I was going to play. I hopped up, and man, not only was the band gracious, but all the fans, they saw me come up and they just went nuts. And
you
I
have
did my
that
thing.
effect on people.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, you do.
But like, I come out and I did my thing, and I obviously, with it being a reggae crowd, I wasn't sure how shreddy I should make it, but man, they loved it. And so I went for it, and the reaction was fantastic, and they had me up every night for the whole rest of the tour. It was really cool.
So like that first time playing with them was like one of the more memorable.
It was that one will stay with me. Not only that, it was like, obviously the fans, great reaction and everything, but we finished the song, I'm walking off stage, and every single guy in the movement, they make a point to, give me the handshake, slap on the back, this sort of thing as I'm walking off stage. Yeah. It wasn't just a charity thing, which I was kind of worried about. That sometimes happens with the sit-in thing, especially as like a horn player. It's sort of, there's a horn player. Let's let him blow for a little bit, and, we'll move on. It'll be fine, whatever. You get sort of that vibe.
Yep.
But, man, they really, really liked it and really responded to it, and, thought that I could really bring an extra little bit of something to their set. And they told me that, and they were really upfront about it, and it was a really cool feeling. I'll remember that for a long time, definitely.
And I think that they probably wouldn't have been so responsive and welcoming to you if you had approached that sit-in like a different way.
Yeah.
I think that as a horn player, you especially, but our whole network of like horn player buddies, you guys have mastered the art of the sit-in.
It's a real art form. It really is. It's it's obviously you want to come in, you want to be able to make your mark, you want to be able to do your thing and kind of showcase what you can do, but you don't want to overstep. That's the worst thing you can do in a sit-in atmosphere, is kind of like try to throw your weight around a little bit too much, because you're not going to get asked back.
You're the guest.
That's the goal. And I always tell this to all my friends, I tell it to all my students, that the goal isn't to get the gig. The goal is to get asked back.
To keep the gig.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. That is some words of wisdom
It's something that I've believed in for a long time. It's something that I learned from the Kung Fu guys. When I started playing the funk nights with them down in Bridgeport.
Yep.
One of the things that they all said is like, it's not the goal to get the gig. The goal is to keep the gig and to get asked back.
Right. Yeah, and that takes a certain amount of etiquette.
Definitely.
Right? Especially if you're a guest in someone else's stage.
It's etiquette. It's coming in knowing exactly what you have to do. It's being super prepared, almost like over-prepared.
True.
And
especially that first time, right? Like really being over-prepared.
Really being over-prepared. And it's kind of the way I've been for as long as I've been doing this, is just, I might not be the most talented musician in the room, but I will be the most prepared. That's what I have control over. I don't have control over how good everybody else is.
Right.
But I have control over how much I'm going to be prepared.
Yep.
And I'll always be the most prepared.
Yeah, you're going to put in that much more hours of work, that much more time in the shed.
Exactly.
And, I mean, the proof is in your calendar right now. I mean,
thank you.
Honestly, it's just, you're getting asked back with all these people. Now everyone wants to have you on their gig. And even us, we're just like, we're sharing Mike Oehmen now. It's with like all these big cats out there. And we're just happy to have him here tonight.
Man, I'm happy to be back for a few weeks and get to see you guys, man. It's been too long.
I know.
I've missed you guys.
And we're doing one of your favorite themes
of
all time.
Absolute favorite themes. Yes, New Orleans, baby.
I want to hear. So I know you have a connection with New Orleans music. Where did that even come from?
So it started in high school for me. With Trombone Shorty specifically.
Yep.
His album Back of Town came out right after, or I guess a year or two after Hurricane Katrina hit. Katrina happened when I was a sophomore in high school. I hadn't really tuned into New Orleans music yet at the time, but obviously everyone heard about Katrina and how devastating it was and how awful it was for the city. Yep. And then Trombone Shorty comes out with this record, and I was just blown away by it. But I didn't really take it that much further in high school.
Right.
I loved the album. I dug into some of his earlier stuff, and that was kind of as far as I dug into it. Then I went off to college, and one of my best friends, guy Josh Brown, amazing drummer, amazing tuba player, trombone player, kind of all over the board. And he loved New Orleans. He lives in New Orleans now. He's lived there ever since he graduated.
Okay.
And he was one of the first friends that I made when I first got to college. And one of the first things we did was we just drove around in his car, just rotating through CDs.
Nice.
And he's like, okay, you need to hear this, you need to hear this, you need to hear this. And I'm sitting shotgun in his car, just blown away by the stuff that he was showing me. And then fast forward to my junior year, he had graduated. He was a few years older than me, but he was already living in New Orleans. And
he knew, he was like,
oh yeah, he wasn't a music major. He was actually an engineering major, and he got his day gig at the Air Products factory just outside of New Orleans.
Okay.
And I think now he's like head foreman or something. He's really high up in the company. But so he moved down there after college, and he invited us down for our spring break and got us a bunch of gigs and everything like that. And we rented a van, drove from Pennsylvania all the way down to New Orleans.
Wow.
And I'll never forget like stepping out in New Orleans the first time, and it was almost like on just like an instinctual level, like, oh, this is amazing. I'm supposed to be here. This is like, this is it for a horn player. This is it for me.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I haven't gone back much recently, obviously, with COVID and everything else that happened afterwards.
Yeah.
But I tried to get down there at least once a year leading up and everything, and it's something that I'll always be drawn to. The New Orleans, the music, the culture, the people, the food, obviously.
Yep.
It's one of those things that I'll never be able to let go of. I love it so much. And it's reflective in the music. I mean, the musicians that are really drawn to it, you can hear it in their sound, in their swagger, in just the way that they can play one note and you can tell
that's New Orleans.
You're in New Orleans.
Yeah. I feel like that there's always like this kind of, like you said, the swagger is a great term, but like one of the terms I always come back to is like swampy. Or, you know what I mean? Sludgy or swampy.
It's like a little bit slower, a little bit more gritty, and there's just this, you hear them play and you can hear almost just the lineage going back to Pops, back to Louis Armstrong. You can hear that in their sound, and it's something that you can't really explain until you hear it, until you're there, until you're part of it. My senior year, I was lucky enough that our spring break lined up with Mardi Gras.
Oh, that must have been a wild,
dude. And we did the same thing. My buddy Josh was living in New Orleans, and so we rented a van again, drove from Pennsylvania down to New Orleans again, and
how many daiquiris?
Oh God, don't even ask. Don't even ask. I'll tell you this much: on Mardi Gras Day itself, I think I played saxophone for 15 hours straight.
On Mardi Gras Day.
On Mardi Gras Day itself.
So what time did you start?
We started at 10 a.m.
I'm doing the math right now. 10.
Oh God, yeah. And so we got hired to do a pub crawl through the French Quarter, through the band that my buddy Josh was playing in, right?
Yeah.
And so we all meet up at the bar. We walk from his house to where we were starting, and it just took one bar. From one bar to the next, all of a sudden, we're getting led through the French Quarter by these guys in these bedazzled Elvis costumes. It was one of the Mardi Gras crews that had finished their morning parade. They heard us, liked our sound, and was like, okay, parade number 2, let's go.
Yep.
And
you're coming
all of a sudden, we were literally hijacked, and they were marching us through the French Quarter. I couldn't look up, otherwise I'd get beamed in the face by beads. They were just like thousands of people following us. We get to St. Louis Cathedral in the big market square at the center of the French Quarter, and I'd have to dig through Facebook again and see if I could find it, but there is a picture where you can see my buddy's tuba bell in this just sea of people in front of the cathedral at that fountain.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was wild. I'll never forget that.
I was gonna say, it's like one of those things you probably wish you had like a GoPro just to like be like, you know, kind of like capture like being in the middle, like, all right, POV, you're the saxophone player in the middle of,
dude,
you know, the Mardi Gras parade.
I'll never forget a friend of mine from high school, way before I got into college, into New Orleans music or anything, a really good drummer. All of a sudden, I see him part of the parade playing bass drum. Ooh. And I'm like, what are you doing here, dude? And he just looks over at me and goes, I don't know. That was the vibe. Everyone was just playing together. And we had like maybe a handful of a dozen New Orleans standards that we would just recycle through the whole day because we were playing in front of vastly different people the whole time. And it was the coolest thing. And we ended the night on Frenchman Street at, I think it was Maison was the venue we ended up playing at until 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. It was wild, man.
And then your chops were dead for the next week.
Yep, exactly. They might as well have been ground beef. It was bad.
You know what's funny is I almost did, like, there were preliminary talks of doing my bachelor party in New Orleans.
That would have been dangerous.
For Jazz Fest, because it was like around the same time.
I remember that. We were kind of throwing that idea out.
And then we started doing the math, and we're like,
it would have been a lot.
Yeah, we can't ask everyone to shell out that much.
Yeah.
But just think about what that
would have been crazy.
We may not have made it back home.
At least one person wouldn't have made it back home.
It would have been me.
It would have been you.
I would still be there, like, Naomi.
Everyone's just like texting, "Hey, where's Sam?"
Uh-oh. All in all, I'm glad.
Yeah, no, I think we definitely made the right call.
Yeah, but like, I have to go to New Orleans. It's a bucket list place for me.
Yeah, dude.
And I love the music.
Yeah.
But not like you do, because I haven't been there. I haven't been part of that culture and just like been engulfed in it like the way you have. And I feel like once I go there, I'm just going to be all that more in love with the style.
Yeah, exactly.
And the artists.
It's one of those things that if I could see myself living there.
Moving there, yeah.
But it would mean basically reinventing everything, getting a whole new book of contacts, and And you've worked so hard, like, get what you've got now. And also, like, you just went through this whole, like, diving straight into music, quitting that day job. I mean, that's, like, what everyone talks about, right?
Yeah. Like, that the people that have, like, made it to the top, they do look back on that time where they're like, there was a moment when I had to, drop the day job and go straight to... I was listening to a Billy Strings podcast. You know that guy, Billy Strings?
Of course.
He was with Theo Von and talking about how he was, I forget what his job was. But it was like, just a whatever job.
Yeah, something to pay the bills. Exactly.
And then like doing the nighttime gigs and weekend gigs. And he was like, the nighttime gigs were pulling in more money than his day job. And he's like, if I just have more time to do gigs all the time, I'll be just fine. And that... From then on, it was just like upwards and upwards, and I'm already seeing it happen to you.
It's amazing how it's happened, because you worry about that so much when you're in a position of having a day job and playing gigs at night and using your vacation time to go on tour and everything.
Right.
It's just, you have so much anxiety around, what if the gigs stop? What if it just doesn't happen? But you realize how much, or at least I've been lucky enough to realize how much more time and just brain space I have to devote to what I really want to do. I mean, I'll never forget one of my college professors. I was talking to him as I was, getting close to graduating and everything like that. And I was obviously really stressed about finding a job and everything like that. And this guy, very, soft-spoken, doesn't really raise his voice too much or anything like that. And whatever book he had in his hand, he just threw aside, and he goes, "It's because you want to play music. Just play music. And if it doesn't work out, you learn a trade. That's what you do." Yeah. And I did. Wow. It took me a few years to figure it out and take his advice. Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much. Best advice anybody ever gave me, but it's true. And, having that extra time and that extra brain space to be able to devote to the music. I mean, I'm definitely not making as much money. It's financially, I'm like still figuring out how it's going to happen. But at the same time, I was able to kind of bankroll myself leading up to the end of the day job and,
Right.
you know, have a whole bunch of extra cash set aside for bills. So I'm like a few months ahead consistently.
Right.
And so that way, if there's like a couple weeks or a month that, you know, things are a little bit slower,
right.
It's not something where I'm like scrambling to like, oh crap, I have to get like a part-time job for the next month before I go on tour again. So thankfully I'm in a pretty good position, and I'm lucky enough that, you know, people still keep reaching out to me and want me to be involved in what they're doing. And I couldn't be more thankful for that. It's been really amazing.
Yeah, and this is just the beginning. Like, you know, it's just a huge step to make that decision, to leave that like place of comfort and put yourself in an uncomfortable scenario. But, you know, I said this in the last podcast too. Diamonds are made under pressure, right?
And that's a great way to put it. Yeah,
when your back is up against the wall like that, and you have to
deliver.
You have to make it.
Yeah.
You will find a way.
Yeah.
And you're already on your way there, man. I know.
I appreciate that,
it's
man.
just gonna keep rising and rising. Again, you're riding a rocket ship, and man, just like super proud of everything I'm seeing. And
thank you so much.
You know, it's a testament to your personality, your preparedness, your playing, your talent, and just having off the stage too. You know, I mean, that's just as important, dude.
Yeah. Thank you
for keeping the gig, right?
Yeah, it's about keeping the gig, not getting the gig. And that's like, you know, and I will say, you know, one of the guys that two guys that I need to, I couldn't do an interview or podcast like this without shouting out are Mihali and Adrian Tramontano are really the two guys that have made all this possible for me. Adrian, because he was the one that put me in touch with Mihali in the first place.
Okay.
Amazing guy, as you know, if anybody else that...
One of my favorite drummers.
If you've been living under a rock, he is Connecticut legend. As far as music goes, as far as drummers go, and he's one of the most amazing guys you'll ever meet. I met him when we were doing the Bryac Funk Nights down in Bridgeport.
Yep.
And ever since then, he's really been one of my biggest advocates in the industry. Whenever there's a time and space where he feels like there should be a saxophone player, he's the one that calls me. He's the one that says, you got to call this guy, or, you know, your band needs a saxophone player and it needs to be this guy. It's awesome, he's just, and he does that for so many people. It's really amazing. And so that's what happened with Mihali. 2 summers ago, all of a sudden I get a call from him. He goes, all right, I'm going to need you to act surprised, but Mihali's going to call you and see if you want to be in, or if you want to play a gig with his band and maybe like actually be a member. And I just was, okay, yeah, let's go, let's do it. And I did exactly what I said. It was at the Levitate Backyard in Marshfield, Massachusetts.
Great festival.
Great. It's not the festival. It was their venue, their outdoor venue.
That's right. Yeah, the backyard.
Yep. So that was the first gig I played with them. I just had, he gave me 3 songs to learn, and I did exactly what I said. You know, you just hyper prepare, over prepare. And so by the time the date came around, I did my thing, and they asked me to be in the bands right off the bat. And fast forward a few months, we played the Levitate Festival.
There you go.
And that was really the nail that solidified everything. And from then on, Mihali has really just, in the biggest way, brought me into his music, into that world, and I couldn't be more thankful for that opportunity, because there is some really amazing growth I can see with that band and his music and his songwriting. It's going to be something really, really cool to see in the next few years.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to see where this goes. And, you know, props to Adrian for being an advocate for you.
He's an advocate for anybody he believes in, man. And he really is one of the best guys you can know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would love to have him on this podcast too. Just growing up, like, and when I have him on the podcast, I'll reserve the story for.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, first starting to play drums, I was like totally listening to him and checking him out with the breakfast.
Yeah.
But with that being said, man, before we wrap up, let's take this as an opportunity to kind of plug what you got going on, or
sure.
anything coming up that is, that you want to tell the people about.
Yeah. So biggest thing coming up is the Mihali Lifted Tour. It's going to be the first 3 weeks in March. We start out in Colorado. First 2 shows are, I believe, the 4th and the 5th of March with the full bands. Mm-hmm. And then we do a whole loop through the Midwest as the duo looping acts. And the whole thing ends, or the first round of the tour ends on March 23rd up at Mount Snow for Reggae Fests.
That I might have to come by.
It's going to be a fun time,
yeah.
Man. And that's going to be, we're headlining the whole festival. It's going to be the full bands. It's really, really cool.
I'm there.
It's going to be great. And then there's one show in particular that I really want to plug for the second leg of that tour. Okay. We're doing a long weekend, the first weekend in April with the full band, Northeast shows. And one show in particular, April 4th, Paradise Rock Club in Boston, Massachusetts. All my friends, all my family. I get hounded so much. When are you playing in Boston? When are you playing close by? This is it. April 5th, Friday, Paradise Rock Club. It's a Friday night. There's no excuse if you're not there. Stop asking me when I'm playing locally. Come on, let's sell this out. I want to sell this out with everybody. Come on, let's go, everyone.
All right. Get those tickets. I'm going to put the link to the tickets in the description.
And if you need the link also, it's in the profile, my hyperfollow link on my Instagram. It's right there. Please, let's sell this show out. That would be a huge, huge thing for us as a band, just kind of starting out, headlining shows ourselves. So if we could have a great showing in the Northeast in particular, we would so appreciate it. So April 5th, Friday, Boston, Massachusetts, Paradise Rock Club. Let's see you there.
See you there, guys. And don't forget, like, comment, subscribe.
Let's go.
Booyah.
Booyah.
Podcast. All right, love you guys. I think it stopped. Did it stop? Oh, it's still going. Bonus content, baby.
Still going.